Hello guys, today we are going live with Anuja Dalvi, who is a physio based in Mumbai, and the topic today is about children and kids and how they will be shaping up to be future athletes. I'm sure it's a very interesting topic for all kids and parents to see. We're just waiting for Anuja to join us today. Tomorrow we have on Friday, in fact, we have Lizzie Chauhan, who is a woman Indian football player, joining us. So we have a great set of people joining us. And on Monday, we had Saurabh Verma, who is a badminton player, international badminton player. So let us go on and see if Anuja is live, so that she can join us. We are waiting for Anuja Dalvi, who's a physiotherapist in Mumbai. She is the head physio founder at Life Physiotherapy in Mumbai, and so here she comes. So let me just add to the live today. Yeah. So we're just waiting for Anuja to join us.
Hi, Vijay.
Hi, Anuja.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Great, looking good. Let's get on with the today's session. And for people who don't know Anuja Dalvi, she is physio, has multiple perspectives to her. Amongst that, she has worked considerably with cricket, in fact, with various cricket teams in the country. She was also part of the Bangladesh cricket team, women's cricket team, which in fact had a very famous victory over India a couple of years back. She has been involved with the Pro Kabaddi League in India. She has in fact worked with tennis. In fact, her individual clientele involves multiple people, a lot of top-end sports people. Her education has been from Australia. So she has got a lot of global expertise as well, bringing it. Today we are actually talking to her more specifically on children and how to kind of make them into budding sports people, athletes. Welcome, Anuja, from the Fasten Up India team.
Thanks, Vijay, for having me.
Yeah. So, Anuja, in fact, I was just looking at where we used to come from. I mean, a lot of years back, I'm sure even in your childhood, we never had this concept of shaping children into future athletes. People used to just push us into the playground. We used to shape as and when it took us, and then people used to get shaped and become future athletes.
I mean, true. I mean, in the past, that was the whole concept. But, as the science is advancing, especially the sports science part in sports, I think, more and more concepts related to kids, education, sporting education, their psychology, their physiology, so many things coming out that I think we have more insight now as how to probably form a successful athlete rather than leaving it on chance, rather than leaving it on luck that my kid will go and become a better athlete in future.
So let us go into the specifics of this subject. The first thing that I want to ask you is, you run a center in Mumbai. How many people, I mean, how many kids do come into your center? What has been your experience with kids, with parents who bring those kids, their aspirations, etc.?
So at Live Active in Mumbai, we basically get a lot of active population, healthy recreational adults, sporting people, elite sports athletes as well. If I have to tell you about my kids clientele or children, we do have a lot of junior athletes who are knocking the doors of professional circuits. They're doing really good at state level, at some of them at national level. So we do have good experience with kids, and they're from various sports like football, gymnastics, cricket, of course, because we mainly into cricket. So there are multiple kids we have from recreational, you can say, kids who are just doing sports as recreation, or at school they are playing, And some
Sure.
of the athletes we have are like top junior athletes in their respective sports. Yeah.
So, when you talk about these young athletes, do you consider them as the younger version of the adult athletes in terms of their physiological
Yeah.
status, psychological status? I mean, how do you look at them?
So I think, there is this word, little adults, yeah, for
Okay.
young, adult athletes, small adult athletes, some people would like to call them. But if you go to see their physiology and their psychology, kids are very different than adults. So we can't, coaches who are into adult circuit, they would like to, probably call them small adult athletes and try to implicate the same rules and regulations which they would probably try out for an adult. But we have to look at their physiology, which is so different for a kid. Let's say talk about their motor patterns, fine motor patterns, gross motor patterns. They are still learning. Even in kids, if you see, different age groups will show you, like different level of development. If you're talking about kids who are like, let's say 6 years and younger, or little older kids like 6 to 12 years, or older than that, it's a whole spectrum that we see across the kids. Their body balance is so different, their body postures are different. They're learning their skill movements, they're learning their training movements like general fitness, like running, doing a proper squat, doing a proper push-up. So
Sure.
we have to really look at this aspect of kids physiology. And if you see their psychological aspects also, most of them don't have that attention span. They are in a hurry always. They don't have that focus. They need to
Right.
learn to get that focus. They need to learn to give attention to coaches, to the game, learn game strategies. So younger athletes, kids and adolescents, are very different from adult athletes, and we need to give them that we need to give them that tender and sort of careful supervision, and be a part
Yeah.
of their development as well.
Sure. Just a very curious question.
Yeah.
In your education today, here and abroad, are people being taught how to deal with children and kids?
Yes. So when I was studying in Australia, we had to finish a sort of certificate from the Australian government, which was regarding how we are going to have a protective environment for kid. You know what I mean? Like if I'm at a clinic and let's say I'm looking at a small child, I can't be alone with that kid if it's a 16 years or less.
Sure.
I have to have a parent, and then you need to carefully monitor again your words, how you're talking to a kid. So yeah, various factors like this, like you have to. So it was about that kind of environment, how
Sure.
you create like a protective environment for a child to open up and talk to you, like talk to physios or talk to any health professionals, and they should feel secure while they are
Right.
with you. So
Right.
that kind of training, like it was a small training, but yes, it was done. And overall, when we are studying, we do study about like kids and as
Sure.
I said, like different physiology and psychology, and
Right.
how to train kids a little differently than adults.
So another interesting question that I thought should be a great one for all of us who are listening as well is, as a parent, I have two daughters. We have two daughters, and they also do a little bit of sports.
Yeah.
And I've seen when we go to different sports arenas, stadiums, that the kids are pushed into a certain sport at a certain age, right?
Yeah.
Now the dilemma is always whether they should specialize early or they should play different sports and let them choose at a certain age. So what's the real deal there?
So I think this is a very important point. Like I can talk for hours on this
Sure.
particular topic, because it is called early specialization.
Okay.
So in sports medicine, there is a definition given. If we have to simplify the definition, it would be, let's say, a particular kid or athlete If the particular child year round they are doing very intense training of one particular sport, exclusive sport, uh, excluding possibilities about all other sports. They are just focused on that one sport, hoping that they will achieve glamorous athletic success. That kind of philosophy that people are into, that let my child start early, let my child start at 5 years of age, 6 years of age, formal training, or get into organized sector, which is too early for a child. As I said, they need to really develop their foundation mentally, physically. So early specialization most of the time is not the greatest of thing you could do for your kid. It's not going to it's not going to watch for the biggest achievement in future. In fact, if you see most kids who start early, they actually succumb to injuries, to burnout, and then we see they lose interest in sports. They just fall out, sort of as well in some sector of sports. Let's say something like gymnastic or swimming, or let's say a ballet dancer, where probably you would like your body to grow in that fashion over the time. And you might want to ask your kid that, okay, if they are super excited about being a ballet dancer, they can just focus on ballet and probably do a little bit of supplementary activity, but they are fully into it. So there is a role for early specialization in few sports, but most of the sports, it's been shown that as the kid grows, they actually face lots of injuries because they're repeating those same patterns again and again, and they kind of succumb to burnout. So early specialization is like a tricky situation, and some people do come out being successful athletes.
I mean, you always have outliers in any sport. Right.
Kind of outliers. The percentage is so less,
very small,
and we want to achieve like an overall development of kid, like build up the foundation, so build up overall fitness. So for that, early specialization is not going to be advantageous because your kid is not exploring different sports. So basically they are not exposed to different parts of fitness. They will only achieve through that one particular sport.
Sure. So for the audience, if you have any questions, please put in your comments. We'll try and answer that. So we'll take it up as it goes. So Anuja, again, you said it's not good to do early specialization in most of the cases, right? As a thumb rule,
mostly.
Would you advise a person or kid or a parent to do only say 3 days of a sport specific workout, or is there any thumb rule you can advise?
I think Vijay, there can't be really a thumb rule, but we have to see, case by case, we have to decide what is the best for that particular child, depending on what facilities he or she has got, what kind of ecosystem is around her. So it's really different for each kid. But if you go to see, yes, we would like to tell parents that please don't ask your kids to train every day.
Every day,
like 5 days a week, 6 days a week kind of pattern, which a professional athlete would do. So if they are not yet, in that professional circuit, or if they are not yet fully committed to a sport, that they have lots of time for their recovery, and lots of time to take care of themselves, I think it's the best thing. Probably thrice a week. Thrice a week is a good intensity for a kid to push into sport, so that it gives them something else to explore. It might be arts, it might be something else, that they want to do. It might be some other sport. And they have lots of recovery time for themselves.
So, I mean, when you're talking about 3 days in a week broadly, and also you talked about competitive nature, when to get into competitive sport. Is there an age that, from your experience, obviously there is no right and wrong or black and white, but from your experience, people you have dealt with, is there any age bracket where they really get into more intense training?
So I think, again, if we have to really, let's say, segregate this whole spectrum of, adolescent age group and kids. So let's say up to 10 years of age, they should be doing like basic movement patterns and basic activities. Let's call them activities rather than sports. It need not be sport. It can be just skipping. It can be running around. It can be playing, local games with your friends, in your building complex, those kind of activities, and you're playing something at your school during your physical training hours. As they start growing, they will start getting interested into, few of the sports really interest them, they attract them, we can say, and they really want to do it. You don't have to bribe your child to, okay, you have to go and play this, or you have to attend this class. They will come and tell you themselves. So if you start finding such kind of interest, first thing, and second thing, if you are looking at their movement patterns and they are getting really mature, they can do a good squat, a good push-up, a good lunge in their fitness class. Their attention, sort of their focus, they have, coaches have their attention. So the coaches can start really showing them skill activities. They can start teaching them skill activities. So this is the time, I guess, around 10 plus is the time you start exploring options of various sports that you have or your kid can like. And let's say 12 is the age we start really seeing athletic development when they start showing agility, speed, endurance in sports. And then accordingly, again, we can probably take a call like which of the sports departments or fitness departments they succeed in. We can probably, again, expose them to various sports and let them choose, like let them have that freedom, and parents should have a good communication with them, which sport they want to choose.
So this is a question that I want to quickly ask you. It's probably a quiz question maybe, but see, when I look at your examples, we have had examples where good cricketers have been proficient in other sports. Like you have A.B. de Villiers, who was also proficient in hockey. You have Chahal, who is also a chess player, who was at a junior level. I just wanted to ask you, amongst the Indian current women's cricket team or people you have dealt with, is there anyone who is also proficient in any other sport?
I think professionally, I'm not too
Not professionally,
sure.
proficient.
Proficient. Yes, definitely. Like if you see Harman, I'll give her example because she's, really popular now in the country. Harman is excellent at football. Like I have seen her playing, and she's quite accurate, with the ball skills and ball tricks also. Like she can do the ball. She's really good. There are a couple of other girls like Nusheen and Sushma. They are really good with football again. I think what happens with football in cricket is, as a warm-up game, you tend to play football. So some of them are really good at football. And so good that they can actually take up football as a profession.
If they really want to. And I think it also helps that football skills also sometimes helps in certain versions of cricket.
Yes, and even table tennis. So at National Cricket Academy, there is a table tennis board. And whenever you have free time, generally you will find people either probably they're sleeping or they're exercising in the gym, or most of them are playing table tennis down. So again, some of the cricketers are really good at
I forgot this time. I forgot to put off my phone. So. So I keep getting phone. I'm sorry about it. Normally you do a lot of things, but this one I forgot today. So let's go on to the next question, Anuja. So I have seen, even from personal experience, even when I read books, even from whatever I've discussed with you, that a lot of people who are really good at the age of 14, 15, and even you can look at it from the cricket teams that have evolved. Very few of them really make it big or really get into the top notch when they are at the age of 18, 19, 20, 21. So what really happens between the age group of 14 to 19 or so?
Yeah, so as we were talking about early specialization, this question is like, sort of extension of that early specialization spectrum. So what happens if you start really young and really intense at young age, you sort of achieve burnout, or maybe you have injuries and you haven't come back to the system. So slowly people, start leaving the system. You can call them like ghost athletes. Some of them are really talented. Even we have seen few kids, let's say around age 16, age 18. They were really talented. Coaches, are, vouch by them that they are going to be a big success. They are going to be a big talent, and coaches have full focus on them. What happens is like overwork done at an early stage. So let's say somewhere from 13 age to up to 16, we lose like as close as 70% probably talent to such a scenario. Not just in India. I mean, I don't have rather Indian statistics. What I'm talking 70% is the number of world statistics. Would say 70% actually lost. And we really need to stop losing such talent, younger talents, to various factors. There are different factors. Sometimes it's the administrative pressure, sometimes peer pressure, sometimes parents are really pushy and a child probably cannot, live up to their expectations. And because of the psychological pressure, they don't feel interested. They don't feel like continuing sports. They don't think that they belong to sports. And then they start, losing interest.
So is there also an element of the growth? I mean, I've seen personally people who are very good at 15 years, but somebody else takes over by the time you reach 19 years or 20 years. Is there an element of muscular growth or any other aspect apart from the other environmental factors which comes into play?
Again, it's all about injuries. If we want to talk about musculoskeletal aspect of it, so the overuse patterns will give you some kind of injury. Some of them are really minor. Some of them can be major. Like in cricket, backs, spines for fast bowlers has always been a worry for everyone, from player to coaches to parents, from sports, professionals. So if you haven't loaded that player during that particular age group, nutritionally, fitness-wise, and is being overloaded with bowling work, then you are about to see that spectrum of bony injuries in a spine, because of which many players leave fast bowling. They either start turning into spin bowling, or they just don't want to bowl, because of their back injuries. They might just focus on batting. So this kind of system, this kind of stuff can also happen, that where you have lost a player to the system, but probably they have changed their profile. So something like this is also possible. That's why people change games as well sometimes.
Yeah, correct.
So
would it be safe for parents, whoever is listening to this, to not rush into things, but look at it over a span of time, 10 to 20 years, where one has to look at it from an overall perspective?
Yeah, I think parents really need to give some time for kid to develop. As we discussed, let's say about age 12 to 14, let them do multiple sports. Let them focus on their fitness as well. We have spoken about this, that sports, just playing sports is not fitness training. There can be whole aspect to fitness training in kids. So why don't we promote that? Because as a parent, or as in schools also, when we are talking about fitness for kids, we always suggest them, okay, you should play this sport. Why don't you play that sport? So this kind of culture or tradition is missing, I would say, where we do not have enough fitness classes for kids,
Sure.
around us. Even when we are thinking about summer camps, we are not thinking about giving them some fitness class. We are always thinking about getting them into sports, let them
Yeah.
play a sport. I think if we changed this kind of mentality and more and more fitness coaches, like proper professionals, it's not because it's kids and where they are different. I think we need more authentic professionals into kids fitness, and
Right.
having those fitness classes for kids can be a great alternative.
Right. So, Anuja, let's get on to another subject in the kids and adolescent space.
Yeah.
Let's talk about girls and boys as they get to sports. I mean, the fact of the matter is, if you leave cricket, the
Yeah.
majority of the winners for India have been girls, ladies out there, in terms of Olympics, in terms of
Yeah.
a lot of competitions like archery, shooting, you name
True.
anything, right? Uh, I mean, have you seen differences between boys and girls and parents as well when it comes to sports amongst your clientele, of course, but also how they have evolved?
Yes, I think, and it's, if we are thinking about India, culture
Mm,
and the towns also matter. If you come from metro city, major cities, and if you are in villages, there is a huge difference in culture of sport when it
mm-hmm.
comes to genders. So
Sure.
if we are thinking about, like, for a developing country like India, we have to think about the cultural aspect in sports as well. But you are right. I mean, Vijay, when it comes to girls, I think as a society, we still have certain notions that a girl should play these sports and girls should not play these. Like a girl should play, let's say, tennis and badminton, more girl type sports, more
Mm-hmm.
lady looking sport. And they should not go into, let's say, wrestling, or very few girls would take up athletics, from
Sure.
childhood.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably that they are not exposed much by media as well. Like you see now,
Sure.
women's cricket is getting so much of exposure through
Mm-hmm.
media. So many
Sure.
girls would like to explore that, would like to play, and there are facilities available as well. So I think that
Sure.
there's this one major cultural issue, issues with media, uh, issues when it comes to parenting. If I
Mm.
can say, if I dare to say so, that even in the houses, traditionally, some things are expected out of a girl, like a
Correct.
dance class, let's say.
Mm.
Like you
Mm.
never think about having your son join a dance class versus a
Right.
girl who has to learn it as a mandatory kind of skill from childhood,
Mm. Mm.
which which is little, uh,
Sure.
specific to Indians and India, I would say. But overall, if you see, if you are looking at girl athletes, I think we have to really take care of them during the puberty age.
Mm-hmm.
When the body is changing, they have a lot of
Mm-hmm.
body image issues they can develop,
Sure.
nutritional issues around that area, around that time. So these are
Mm-hmm.
the areas which we have to specifically monitor. So
Mm-hmm.
probably a visual nutrition is doing a blood checkup
Sure.
early in age for females can be a good
Mm-hmm.
option. Monitoring
Okay.
their fatigue levels is very important as well. Their restlessness, their fatigue. Are they talking to you properly? If there is a communication gap, or rather you are experiencing a communication gap during those years, then you
Mm-hmm.
can take a you know probably initiative and start talking to your girls. So these are very important factors. Encouragement
Sure.
is what I think all they need. Confidence and encouragement. They should also feel that they belong to sporting world and it's not boys' territory. So I think, female athletes need more psychological support, I would say. And physically, definitely they are different. Like you father two girls. So I'm sure you must have experienced these scenarios. So when it comes to sports, I would say coaches also need to be mindful of this fact.
Right.
It's not about getting paranoid or it's not about giving them a very special attention and special treatment. But I think mindful is the word. They just need to be mindful that there can be some things happening around this age group.
Correct. Correct.
And they should monitor or supervise the child accordingly.
So one specific question, since you talked about the changes which happen with a girl as they go, I mean, related to puberty, etc. I mean, just correlating it to actual performance, right?
Yeah.
Should a parent is there a drastic change in performance levels and should they be worried about anything as they grow? Because it's going to be psychologically a very sensitive period of time for them.
Yeah, I think you are right. There would be a major psychological and performance, sort of drop. Why we're talking about just, adolescent girls and kids, like female kids. Even if you see female athletes, adult athletes, even now, like, when they're growing and, they have achieved their peaks as well, they would still have problems around, the monthly time when they are experiencing some mood swings, some irritability, some more fatigue. So that is bound to, sort of performance. So if we are probably raising a female athlete who might have, achieved puberty early or within the normal age range, we have to be only, I can say, mindful about the changes they're going to go through and how we can help them with the easy communication. We should try and help them, with the coaching, or we can probably give them space around their training and, skill training around that time. More nutritional support, should happen from whoever is the parent who is more active and engaged in bringing up the child. Probably it's not both the, in a couple, it's not father and mother who are actively engaged. Most of the time it's mother, and mothers do understand, female kids. So I think that should be sort of, the way to handle a female child during the pubertal ages.
So I have a few more questions, Anuja. I mean, we have in the last session of our discussion, once a parent and the kid has decided that yes, I want to pursue sports as an option, right? What is the support system? What are the things that they should do, right? I mean, one is you go to the ground, you go to the stadium and play. You have a coach, maybe play with. But what else?
I think the parents need to first of all understand that why their kid is playing sport. As we discussed initially, that every parent want to raise a sports star. They want to raise a sports star at age 14. They want Sachin Tendulkar and Saina Nehwal and Sania Mirza in their houses. So first of all, understand why you want your kid to be in sport. Is it just the fitness and health of the child, and you want them to want to see them active and occupied? Is that your reason? Or you really want to push them into professional circuits going ahead in future, if you have that kind of hope and ambition and dream for your kid? And based on, I think, this answer, like what is it, like yes or no, I want to see my child professionally going higher to higher levels, or no, I think the whole scenario changes. Then we can, we are looking at, and I mean, even if in both the cases, one thing is sure, that you have to make sure the kid is enjoying the sport. So if as a parent you are not seeing that happening, like your kid is all the time fatigued and irritated, and as I said, do you need to bribe them to attend their sporting activities, then there's something going wrong. So you need to take a step back and think about this whole scenario, because they might want to do more like hiking and trekking, or they are more interested in art. They just want to have some quiet time with their books, reading, they might get into writing as they grow. So not every kid is meant for sport is something I think we need to understand and emphasize. There are physical training periods in school. So they will get their enough share of activities. Going beyond that,
But one question was that once they decide, right? I mean, you are saying there has to be an interest. The parent and the kid gets into it. Yeah. So once you have that interest in place, do they sign up a nutritionist? Do they sign up a physio? Do they sign up a coach, fitness trainer? What do they do? I mean, to be better.
Sure. I think another thing we have to look at is from early age, let's not intervene a lot into their natural growth. They need to really naturally grow into that sport or multiple sports. It need not be just one. It can be multiple sports. They need to explore their whole own body. What happens is sometimes parents are, so interested in their kids' growth that they will start these early interventions. Like, as you said, a nutritionist, a physio checkup, go to a trainer and get some programming done around it. I think sometimes over-analysis is not good. Let them grow. Maybe again around 12 to 14 years of age is the time you can probably visit a physio, get a screening done, see if something is going wrong, and if you want to get any prehab kind of programming done, like a prevention of injury programming done, if your kid is already into organized sector, or if they're already undergoing a professional sport, or let's say if they are into intense sport, like your girl is into running, and running can be intense on the body. She needs more recovery time. She needs some more nutrition. So let's go to professionals and choose your professionals also very wisely and right in a right fashion. Do a background check, see if they have experience handling kids, because I think that is really important when it comes to kids. And yes, once, let's say twice a year visit to a physio, even if a kid is not injured. But they are into professional sector already, or they are knocking the professional circuit's door. You can probably take to a proper physio, sports physio, twice a year. A nutritional visit can be like once every 3 months. You can expose them to some blood checkup also early in their age, based on which a nutritionist can give you better programming. So things like these, and coaches are always there.
So no forced interventions too much. Have a balanced way.
Exactly. I said like once in 6 months visit to a physio is sufficient. You don't have to really push them in doing into a lot of physio exercises or training exercises. I think it has to really flow. If you have injuries, yes, please go and visit a doctor, visit a physio. If you have particular, if you need to improve them into certain skill aspect or fitness aspect, then yes, go and visit a fitness trainer, because your coaches will guide you that, look, your kid needs more agility training or more endurance. And then maybe you can have extra classes through coaches or extra classes with trainers.
So Anuja, we have run out of time, but I will just ask. There's one question which has come, which is unfortunately not related to kids and children, but it's a very generic question on ACL injuries and how much time it takes for a recovery to get back to training. But I want to add one more question out of curiosity. Do kids get ACL injuries?
So girls, especially female athletes, are more prone of getting ACL injuries. It's one of the factors that has been shown due to various factors in the body, physiological. Females are more prone.
So is it only while playing football or zigzag movement, or is it also any sport?
No, it can be any sporting activities, but biomechanically there are few activities which can give you like the components of sporting activities can give you ACL injuries. Like as you said, twisting, which is very commonly people know, or running in a zigzag fashion and then the knee twists. Or if you fall on your bent knee, that is also one of the mechanisms. Or a football kick, a hard football kick can also give you ACL injuries. So yes, ACL is very common, especially in females. But men as well as females can get ACL injuries, and I think that's what the female was trying to ask. So her question was, if there is ACL, how much time
after for recovery and getting back to training? How many weeks or what is the time period normal?
Okay, so to give you a very brief answer, I think we need to first of all assess it. Along with it, if you have any other injury or it
Sure.
is just isolated ACL injury, you
Mm-hmm.
always try to give a conservative management unless
Mm-hmm.
it is indicated by orthos or by
Sure.
different other injuries that you have got along with it. Always try to give conservative management. By conservative, what we mean is don't rush into surgery. You
Mm.
can wait up to 6 to 8 weeks or even longer than that. You can go to
Mm.
physios, get your rehab done. If out of
Right.
that you are fairly
Right.
stable, you may
Mm.
skip surgeries because
Sure.
surgery is something which depends what kind of activities you want to do in future or if this ACL injury is going to trouble with your training. So you need to get back to your training with proper rehab. Understand
Sure.
if it's going to trouble me, then only choose the
Mm-hmm.
surgery. Yeah. But the recovery
Mm.
time, as we said, can again, vary from person to person and depending
Mm.
on the activities that they do. So if it's a simple
Sure.
office going person or it's a sports person, the recovery,
Yeah.
spectrum can be
Yeah.
huge
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
with surgery or without surgery.
Sure. Sure. So I think somebody's asking, Madhukar probably is asking whether one more question is allowed. I don't see his question right now, but in case he asks, we can take it up. But having said that, we have come to the end of it. Anuja, is there any last pointer or message that you want to tell on this subject to the people who are listening?
Okay, we are not taking Madhukar's
Yeah, you can
question,
probably
right? We
take that,
can,
and then you can take that, and then you
can tendons be
get
made
on.
stronger? Okay, I think it's a very general question that he wants
I
to
think,
ask.
yeah,
Uh,
Madhukar is a runner
okay,
based in Bangalore.
yeah.
He is probably wants to know
Okay,
with
he's
respect
asking,
to
okay,
that.
like muscle strengthening, can tendons
Yeah,
be made stronger?
made
Okay,
stronger. Yeah.
Madhukar, there can be a tendon targeted rehabs if the tendon is injured. And if we are not looking at tendon injury as such, well, a muscle and tendon goes hand in hand. It's like a unit. So we call it muscular tendinous unit. So Madhukar, whatever exercises you are doing for targeting your muscle strengthening, you are in a way making your tendon stronger as well. But yes, looking into the depth of it, there can be tendon rehabs or for a proper sports and conditioning specialist like a SNC coaches, they will target exercises in certain fashion, which is probably going to load your tendon component of muscular tendinous unit more than the muscle component. But it's not that easy and it's not that black and white. It's very gray. But one thing I would like to say, sticking to our topic that we had, when we are talking about kids, as we said, the overall development. So why not early specialization? Because in overall development, as a child, you have strong tendons. You develop
Hmm.
strong collagen and stronger tendons. So when you turn adult, you have stronger tendons. From your childhood. That's simple as that. It's like money in the bank. You save it for your retirement. You save it when
Hmm.
you really need it. So a child needs
Okay.
to really do hopping and climb trees, run zigzag, run in open area to develop those tendon. So as a 20-year-old, as a 30-year-old, you are into sporting world, professional world. You have much more stronger tendons which can withstand a lot of stresses and load.
Mm-hmm. So I think I'm sorry. I mean, I misconstrued it. His son is obviously a
It's
budding
nine
nine-year-old
bowler.
bowler.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it was in that context. So thanks Madhukar for that. Thanks Anuja for that. Yeah. So finally, I think is there anything that you want to
Yeah.
tell the viewers on the subject so
Well,
that they can?
yeah, well, I think if we just have to wrap up, I think let your kids play different sports, let them
Mm,
enjoy, let them choose for themselves, what they want to join professionally, or even if they want to do any sport professionally or in an organized manner, and let them grow naturally is what all I
mm,
want to know. Because as you asked, Vijay, many parents are so worried from age 9 and age 10.
yeah.
They want
Yeah.
physios to intervene and they really want us to do the screenings. And we actually say no to many clients who come
Mm,
with their 9-year-olds and 10-year-olds. We tell them that can you please come to us after 2 years or three
okay.
years because that is the right way of approaching this. So let your kids really grow. Don't interrupt
Mm-hmm.
their natural growth and don't overanalyze Never be paranoid. I know, parents have like one child, two
Yeah.
children, and they get really over anxious about their kids. So please don't do that, and don't over schedule your kids. This is a
Yeah.
thought I think I
Yeah.
wanted to
Yeah.
stress. Like in today's world, kids are really overscheduled. They are as busy as adults.
Yeah, and the parents get more busier handling them, taking them to different
Yeah.
classes.
And parents get more overexhausted,
Worried.
Yeah, over anxious and over exhausted.
Yeah. Yeah.
And kids are
So,
overscheduled. So,
yeah.
anyways, I
So
think we
thank
need
you.
to really,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
change that sort of.
Sure. So thank you, Anuja. I mean, I think this was a
Pleasure.
very specific session. I'm sure a lot of people who would have listened to this would have benefited out of it. Because I don't think
guess
we
so.
talk as much about kids and their development as much as
Yes.
the general sporting, perspectives. So thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you. Thank you so much for touching this
Yeah,
topic.
and
As you said, because
yeah,
we keep talking about injuries and we keep talking,
injuries. Yeah,
about improving performances for adults. But I think
yeah,
we really need to, go down the age ladder and see what we can do better for our kids.
yeah, and start young so that your future is
Yeah.
bright. So
Yes.
thank you, Anuja, for the time.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you for having me. Bye.